For every card counter I know, there are 100 other pseudo card counters that actually know about card counting, but think much more like gamblers than card counters at the table. I want to share with you 6 signs that you actually might be much more of a gambler than a card counter while investing at the tables. I'm Colin from Blackjack Apprenticeship. I've been a professional card counter for over 15 years. I've won over $400 an hour personally as a card counter. I've run teams that have beaten casinos for millions of dollars, and through Blackjack Apprenticeship, I've helped others beat casinos for upwards of over $1 million. And for every card counter I know that thinks about the game properly, there are 100 pseudo card counters. They know about card counting and they might actually know how to count cards, but they don't think like an investor. They have certain thought patterns that just aren't the way that we as card counters want to think about it. And you know what? I was guilty of this when I first started. So when I first started counting cards, I remember I read a book on it, I practiced, I went to the casino, I got stupid lucky and I won about $500, in a few hours trying this card counting thing. And I thought, I'm the man. This is easy money. I'm just gonna keep doing this every day. I started bragging to my friends about it. Oh yeah, I won $500 counting cards at the casino. And what did I do? My next 2 trips to the casino, I lost it all back to the casino. I was back to zero. I panicked. I did not want to put any more money at risk, and I just put the whole thing behind me. Then I went back to practicing. When I came back at it a while later, I actually had a bankroll, and I thought I knew. I did know more. I'd practiced more, but I still had all sorts of improper thinking. There was no Blackjack Apprenticeship YouTube channel or blackjackapprenticeship.com back then to learn from, so I had to figure this stuff out on my own. And I want to help you guys to not think the way I did, or not think the way I hear countless card counters in training think about playing in the casinos. So one of the ways that you can be thinking more like a gambler than an investor is what I was absolutely guilty of when I first played, and that is looking at short-term success or short-term results to prove that you are successful at it. Like I said, I won a bit my first couple times. I guarantee you I didn't have a winning game. I got lucky. It happens all the time in casinos, but I treated that short-term success as validation that I was awesome at card counting. What happened? The math caught up to me and I lost that money back. And if I would have kept playing, I would have lost more money. So you can't look at a short amount of play to determine if you're a winning or losing player. I can tell someone's a winning or losing player in a very short period of time because I know what to look for in how they're playing. I don't care if they've won or lost. When I was running the church team, we'd train someone, we'd send them out to practice, they'd come back and they'd say, Colin, I won $1,000. And I'd say, I don't care. Did you play perfectly? Or if they couldn't play perfectly, I didn't care if they'd won or lost because the math will work out over time. You can't look at short-term results. It can take hundreds of hours for the math to work out, and you're gonna have all sorts of wins and losses in the short term. If you play perfectly, the math will follow. I tell people that you beat this game 1 card at a time by counting properly and playing properly, betting properly, deviating properly, not by winning in the short term. Any gambler can get lucky and win in the short term. A positive EV player will make money over the long term. Another sign that you're thinking like a gambler is that if you win, you feel like you should leave the casino so you don't lose it back. I know you've had that feeling where you're playing, and I get these emails all the time that say, oh, I should have stopped while I was ahead. That's my problem is I keep playing. Well, we as card counters, we don't think that way. Every shoe you play, if you have a winning game, is generating positive expected value, positive EV. If you're up an incredible amount, the next shoe does not care. The cards have no memory. They don't know if you won or lost the last shoe. All you can do is generate positive EV. If you're down a whole bunch, you're not more likely to win the next shoe because the cards have no memory. All you can do shoe after shoe is generate positive EV. We don't make money as card counters by quitting while we're ahead. We make money by playing perfectly, shoe after shoe, hour after hour, night after night, week after week, and we let the math work out over time. If you're telling yourself, oh, I need to stop while I'm ahead, or I need to win my money back when I'm behind, then you're thinking like a gambler. And you want to transition your thinking to realize, I play according to the odds, shoe after shoe, and that last shoe has no impact on the next shoe. Last night has no impact on tonight. You want to start thinking in terms of expected value rather than trying to trick the cards into quitting while you're ahead. The next sign that you're thinking like a gambler is kind of tied to that previous one, and it's that you're having an emotional reaction to your previous session. I remember when I was an early card counter, and this is when I was actually had tested out and was playing perfectly, but I'd have a day where I go to the casino, and I'm working hard, counting cards, doing everything perfectly, and after 4, 5, 6 hours of play, I'm down and I'm thinking, if I would have just not gone to the casino today, I would be X amount richer. I'd be $1,000 richer or $2,000 richer. You cannot think that way. There's no way to avoid losses, to trick the cards into avoiding a loss and only banking wins. If you lost and you played perfectly, congratulations. You just got yourself closer to the long run. If you have a great day and you won, congratulations. You just got yourself closer to the long run. If you've played 20 hours and you've broken even, don't get discouraged. You've gotten yourself closer to the long run. All we can do, like I said before, is generate positive EV, add up those hours, and the math is guaranteed to work out over time. But the problem is if you get emotionally attached to short-term results, you're going to fall into one of two traps. One is burning yourself out. If you're getting emotionally attached to every rise and fall of the chips, you're just going to burn out. Secondly, you might start playing differently. You might start playing scared, or you might start trying to chase your money. And I've known guys that have blown through 5- and 6-figure bankrolls by chasing money, trying to win it all back. And you've got to follow the math. The next sign that you're thinking like a gambler is if you're looking at the past to say what you should have done. There are people out there, and you might be one of them, that about card counting, but you still are trying to come up with your own patterns and say, oh, well, if I would have just stayed on this hand, the dealer would have busted. And, I have a video on the gambler's fallacy. You should absolutely watch it. But all of casinos are built on the gambler's fallacy. The roulette wheels, the craps tables, it's all built on this fallacy that people think that they can predict the future. Card counting is different because it's actual dependent events that we're counting on. Anything outside of the running count, basic strategy, our bet spread, and our deviations, anything beyond that, you cannot fall for it. You've got to trust the math. If you don't trust the math that's been proven through simulations and laid out for you, you really don't have any hope. You're going to come up with your own superstitions and you're going to lose money. Even if you see a pattern, even if you feel like with this dealer or at this casino or with this hand, it seems like you should do X, Y, and Z. If you want to make money, you can't think like that. You've got to trust the math, play perfectly, and let the math work out. Another sign that you're thinking like a gambler rather than an investor is if you don't follow the strategy 100% of the time. One of the first card counters I ever met, we met up, me, Ben, who I got into card counting with, and this third guy, and we're talking about deviations, and he says, well, I know the deviation says to stand on 16 at 0 or higher, but I don't like hitting 16, so I just never hit them. And we're thinking, oh, you're a pseudo card counter. He doesn't follow the system 100% of the time. And there's multiple ways you can do this. This can be with your playing decisions. This could be with your bet spread. I talked to someone recently that's trained through Blackjack Apprenticeship, and he said, well, I know my bet spread, but sometimes I just want to press my bets. And I thought, dude, you're gonna overbet your bankroll. It's gonna wipe you out. You can't do that. If you want to be a card counter, you follow the system 100% of the time, 100% accurately, and you never deviate from the math. The number one way to know if you are a gambler and not a card counter is if you cannot pass a test out. I don't care how much you've won. If you cannot prove to me that you can play perfectly, you are not going to make it as a card counter. So how can you pass a test out? One, you can find another card counter to test you out. And that means that you can play through multiple shoes perfectly without error. Basic strategy, running count, betting, true count conversion, deviations, deck estimation, no mistakes. If you want to take it to the next level, then have the person dealing to you add up your hand wrong, mispay you, and you've got to catch all those things too. If you can't do that, you're not going to make it in the casino. Another way to pass a test out is we have a training suite in Blackjack Apprenticeship in our membership that will test you out. It'll run you through the gauntlet. If you can't pass our virtual test out, you're not going to pass it in a live casino. You can also do a test out with me if you want, but that's expensive and that is kind of high effort. At our boot camps, we test every person out at a boot camp. You need to know that you can do this perfectly at home before you go try to do it in a casino. If you can't pass that test out, don't say, well, I don't really ever make that mistake. If you're making it in a controlled environment, you are making these mistakes in the casino. Hopefully this is helpful for you to know how to think like an investor, not a gambler. If you're making some of these mistakes, it's okay. I've made them too, but you want to correct the way you think. You want to be a disciplined investor at the tables, so you have every chance to generate as much EV as possible and take every penny you can out of the casinos.